Question 1. In the context of a financial services company handling sensitive customer data, is Leclerc, a senior security engineer, notices frequent false positives from the anti-bot blade after enabling it in detect mode. However, business operations cannot afford to miss a real CC communication attempt. Is Leclerc wants to balance detection accuracy without compromising performance or increasing false negatives. What is the most strategic next step she should take before switching to prevent mode? A. Enable full threat emulation logging and analyze sandbox behavior results. B. Fine-tune the anti-bot profile by setting exclusions and verifying the anti-bot DNS trap. C. Immediately switch the profile from detect to prevent and monitor performance. D. Lower the performance impact level from medium to low in smart dashboard settings. Answer. Correct answer. B. Fine-tune the anti-bot profile by setting exclusions and verifying the anti-bot DNS trap. Explanation. Switching to prevent mode without tuning can result in business disruption. Best practice per checkpoint R.20 threat prevention admin guide involves first analyzing false positives and tuning profiles via Smart Console. This includes setting exclusions, checking anti-bot DNS trap configurations, using threat prevention logs. Option relates to threat emulation, which is unrelated. Option C skips critical tuning. Option D reduces protection without addressing accuracy. Question 2. Given the circumstances, Mr. Rohit configures a ClusterXL Harper in active standby mode with 3 interfaces each. After testing failover using ClusterXL admin down, he notices asymmetric routing from external clients and drops due to out-of-state packets. What should Mr. Rohit do to ensure seamless state synchronization and minimize packet loss during failover? A. Enable sticky decision function under cluster properties. B. Change the cluster mode from active standby to load sharing multicast. C. Ensure state synchronization is enabled and that sync interface is not used for other traffic. D. Disable SecureXL and rely on slow path inspection to allow for asymmetric routes. Answer. Correct answer. C. Ensure state synchronization is enabled and that sync interface is not used for other traffic. Explanation. In active standby mode, state synchronization ensures all active connections persist across nodes. Per checkpoints, ClusterXL R.20 admin guide, using dedicated sync interface is critical. Option applies to load sharing. Option B increases complexity and multicast issues. Option D severely degrades performance and is not solution to sync-related drops. Question 3. When evaluating the merits of setting up a remote access VPN for a distributed organization, Is Alvarez decides to use certificates instead of pre-shared keys. She configures the security gateway to support ICAV with third-party clients. What must she ensure to avoid interoperability failures? A. Enable Office Mode IP assignment AEP for all clients. B. Set VPN encryption domain to include all internal subnets used by clients. C. Install a certificate from a recognized that is compatible with third-party clients. D. Configure multiple VPN communities for each client subnet to isolate traffic. Answer. Correct answer. C. Install a certificate from a recognized that is compatible with third-party clients. Explanation. Using certificates with ICAV mandates valid and compatible cosigned certificates. Per the Checkpoint Remote Access VPN Admin Guide R.20, third-party client compatibility often fails due to untrusted or incompatible certificates. Option is only relevant for IP assignment. Option B is necessary but doesn't impact IP negotiation. Option D overcomplicates VPN topology without resolving the issue. Question 4. From the perspective of optimizing policy layers in a large enterprise with multiple administrators, Mr. Simmons is tasked with improving rule management for departments working independently on different policies. What is the main benefit of using access control policy layers in this case? A. It increases logging granularity for each individual administrator. B. It allows simultaneous policy installation to multiple gateways from different layers. C. It separates duties and enhances delegation by isolating policy sections per team. D. It provides better NAT policy enforcement between layers. Answer. Correct answer. C. It separates duties and enhances delegation by isolating policy sections per team. Explanation. Per checkpoint R.20 Smart Console Admin Guide Access Control Policy Layers enable role-based access to different policy segments. This aligns with least privilege and separation of duties principles. Option is unrelated. Option B refers to multi-domain management, not layers. Option D conflates NAT and access control, which are handled separately. Question 5. To better understand packet inspection in a checkpoint firewall kernel, consider a scenario where a packet arrives at the ingress interface. What is the first component that processes this packet before it reaches the rule base? A. SecureXL. B. Stateful inspection module. C. Network address translation NAT. D. Application control blade. Answer. Correct answer A. SecureXL explanation. SecureXL, part of the fast path processing, is the first to handle packets to check for acceleration eligibility. The flow per checkpoints kernel debugging and packet flow guide is SecureXL. Firewall kernel AWR. Stateful inspection at blades. Option B is correct for non-accelerated traffic. Option C comes later in the slow path. Option D is only involved after rule match and stream reassembly. Question 6. Through careful analysis of the C-use upgrade process on a multi-version cluster, MVC is to Yusuf attempt to upgrade one member without affecting traffic. After completing the upgrade, he notices session drops despite successful upgrade status. What likely caused the issue? A. A sync interface was not configured between the upgraded and non-upgraded members. B. MVC requires all cluster members to be upgraded simultaneously. C. MVC does not support failover between major versions. D. The upgraded node's state table was not synchronized due to API version mismatch. Answer. Correct answer A. A sync interface was not configured between the upgraded and non-upgraded members. Explanation. In MVC, state sync must persist between nodes of different versions. If state sync fails, session drops occur. Per checkpoint upgrade guide R.20, proper sync interfaces and backward compatibility are essential. Option B contradicts MVC's purpose. Option C is incorrect. A allows failover. Option D relates to management, not data plane synchronization. Question 7. In what ways can OEL finit command be used to enhance performance in a multi-core security gateway? A. It schedules updates for anti-bot signatures across CPU cores. B. It assigns core affinity to firewall instances, balancing load manually. C. It restarts CoreXL kernel modules with dynamic rebalancing. D. It scans and fixes ERC affinity issues automatically. Answer. Correct answer. B. It assigns core affinity to firewall instances, balancing load manually. Explanation. OEL FITI lets administrators manually bind CoreXL instances to specific CPU cores to optimize performance. This is useful when default dynamic balancing fails. Per checkpoint performance tuning guide R.20, it does not scan restart modules or update signatures. Options A, C, and D are inaccurate or non-existent functionalities. Question 8. Considering the evidence, a security analyst is Chen run OEL drop and finds the message. Drop by FW and/or first packet reason. Rule-based drop. Rule 0. What does this imply? A. The packet was accepted but routed incorrectly. B. The connection was blocked by an explicit cleanup rule. C. The packet matched an implied rule that drops traffic. D. The packet did not match any rule and hit the default drop. Answer. Correct answer D. The packet did not match any rule and hit the default drop. Explanation. Rule 0 is checkpoint's implicit drop rule applied when no rules match. This is not the same as an explicit cleanup rule, which has different rule number. This message confirms traffic is not allowed by policy and was dropped. Option B is plausible but incorrect. Option misinterprets the error. Option C is inaccurate. Implied rule don't drop by default. Question 9. A critical examination of identity awareness reveals that Mr. Langley's firewall logs are missing user information for ODP sessions. After confirming the identity collector is functioning and add query is enabled, what should he verify next? A. That the identity collector is running on the same subnet as the security gateway. B. That the access role objects are defined using ENS names instead of IP addresses. C. That the security gateway is added as SSO trusted application in Active Directory. D. That identity sharing is enabled across all gateways involved. Answer. Correct answer. C. That the security gateway is added as a SSO trusted application in Active Directory. Explanation. For SSO with add query, the security gateway must be trusted enough to retrieve user login data. Without trust, identity awareness logs won't show users. Option is irrelevant. Option B is best practice but not related to missing identity. Option D supports sharing, not initial identity acquisition. Question 10. Throughout the course of log analysis using smart events, Dimitrov observes a recurring pattern of blocked traffic to port 53 TCP with high severity. However, DNS is usually unbased. What is the best explanation for this anomaly? A. DNS of TCP indicates malware attempting zone transfers or tunneling. C. Traffic is common and poses no risk. C. Smart event mistakenly classifies legitimate ERP traffic as ECP. D. High severity is incorrectly tagged due to misconfigured thresholds. Answer. Correct answer A. ENS of TCP indicates malware attempting zone transfers or tunneling. Explanation. While ENS typically uses of TCP is used for zone transfers, AXFER or DNS tunneling, often exploited by malware. Checkpoint logs this as high severity when volume or patterns suggest abuse. This aligns with checkpoint threat prevention signatures. Option B misleads. Option C is a misclassification claim without proof. Option D fails to address technical context. Question 11. To determine whether traffic performance bottlenecks are CPU-related or EO-bound, Mr. Tomlinson uses various diagnostic commands to monitor his R.20 security gateway. During inspection, he notices high CPU edge on a FU SNDS while other cores remain idle. Which solution is most effective to improve overall performance? A. Disable SecureXL to force traffic through the FF path. B. Increase CoreXL firewall worker instances using cpconfig or via Smart Console. C. Reduce logging level to minimal for all blades to reduce CPU load. D. Configure a multi-queue on interfaces receiving high-volume traffic. Answer. Correct answer. D. Configure a multi-queue on interfaces receiving high-volume traffic. Explanation. Multi-queue allows multiple SNDS to process packets from a single interface, effectively spreading the load and reducing bottlenecks on overloaded cores. Per the Performance Tuning Administration Guide, when RxQ is congested, using multi-queue with multiple SNDS improves throughput. Option A reduces performance. Option B only helps if firewall workers, not SNDS, are the bottleneck. Option C may help marginally but not cause CPU distribution. Question 12. Based on the information, Mr. Green deploys multiple gateways in different geographical regions. He needs to ensure centralized logging, but also wants to reduce log transfer latency and bandwidth usage. Which feature best meets his need? They enable log compression on all gateways before forwarding. B. Use log exporter to ship logs to a third-party SIEM via syslog. C. Configure smart event correlation units in each region and aggregate events at central location. D. Deploy a dedicated log server in each region and use log indexer to consolidate logs. Answer. Correct answer A. Enable log compression on all gateways before forwarding. Explanation. Log compression reduces bandwidth and storage needs, allowing efficient centralized logging as per the R.20 logging and monitoring admin guide. Enabling compression on gateways minimizes transfer delays. Option B supports third-party SIEMs but doesn't reduce latency or bandwidth. Option C introduces correlation overhead. Option D increases infrastructure complexity. Question 13. While it is true that a newly deployed security gateway by Isadduel passes initial health checks, users report intermittent access to external websites. Log analysis shows many DNS request failures. After confirming there is no upstream DNS outage, what is most likely the cause? A. Firewall is dropping DNS responses due to NAT misconfiguration. B. Application control blade is unintentionally blocking DNS over LP. C. IPS blade has mistakenly categorized DNS traffic as suspicious. D. Security gateway lacks DNS server IPS in its own Gaia settings. Answer. Correct answer. D. Security gateway lacks ENS server IPS in its own Gaia settings. Explanation. If ENS servers are not configured in Gaia, the gateway cannot resolve ENS affecting services such as URL filtering, updatable objects, and threat prevention updates. This issue aligns with scenarios detailed in the Gaia admin guide. Option is unlikely unless custom NAT is applied. Option B requires explicit configuration to block DNS. Option C is rare and would show up as an IPS event. Question 14. The traditional approach to managing static routes via CLI requires precision, is collared at a static route using CLISH but forgets to save the configuration. Upon reboot, the route disappears. Which command should she have used to ensure route persistence? A. Set route 192.168.1.0.24, next stop gateway address 1.0.0.0.1b. Add static route 192.168.1.0.24, next stop gateway address 1.0.0.0.1 on C. Save config D. Set persistent route 192.168.1.0.24 via 1.0.0.0.1. Answer. Correct answer. C. Save config explanation. In Gaia CLISH, changes are not persistent unless save config is executed. This writes the active configuration to disk. Per checkpoint, Gaia admin CLI guide, all session-based changes are lost on reboot unless saved. Options A, B, and D are variations of route commands but do not ensure persistence without a save config. Question 15. In response to growing demand for automation, Izzy writes, a script using the management API to create network objects. However, execution fails with permission denied despite valid credentials. What is the most probable cause? A. The user lacks access to the specific domain in multi-domain security management. B. The API server is not running on the management server. C. The API user has not been assigned the correct role for automation. D. The session ID expired before the command was issued. Answer. Correct answer. C. The API user has not been assigned the correct role for automation. Explanation. API users must be assigned roles such as automation admin or read-write all in the R.20 Smart Console to access automation functionality. Otherwise, even valid logins will be denied permission. Per checkpoint management API reference RBAC is critical. Option A is relevant only in MDS setups. Option B would lead to connection errors, not permission. Option D causes session errors, not permission denial. Question 16. The question remains whether ETNL remains active between two sites during a network outage. Mr. Burrows notices that after a brief WAN issue, the VPN does not reestablish automatically. He sees that the permanent tunnel option is not enabled. What is the best explanation for this behavior? A. VPN peers failed to renegotiate phase 2 parameters. B. DPD, dead peer detection, is disabled, so failure wasn't detected. C. Without permanent tunnels. Checkpoint only builds tunnels on demand. D. NAT traversal was not configured, preventing reconnection behind NAT. Answer. Correct answer. C. Without permanent tunnels. Checkpoint only builds tunnels on demand. Explanation. Permanent tunnels ensure VPN tunnels remain constantly established even without traffic. Per the VPN admin guide R.20, failure to enable this causes on-demand reestablishment, leading to delays. Option affects negotiation, but the core issue is tunnel persistence. Option B may delay failure detection but not reconnection. Option D is irrelevant if VPN worked before. Question 17. To illustrate this point, Mr. Johai's troubleshooting application drops using FWUnitor. He observes that packets appear at both I and I inspection points, but not at O or O. What does this suggest about the packet's lifecycle? A. The packet was dropped during outbound inspection. B. NAT translation occurred, but the packet was never routed. C. The packet was dropped during kernel-level inspection. D. The packet passed through all inspection points and was forwarded. Answer. Correct answer. C. The packet was dropped during kernel-level inspection. Explanation in FWUNISA: if packets appear at I pre-inbound and I post-inbound, but are absent from O&O, it implies drop during kernel inspection, usually due to security policy or blade enforcement. Per checkpoint troubleshooting admin guide, this is a sign of rule-based or kernel-level drop. Options and B. Misinterpret inspection sequence. Option D is false by absence at outbound. Question 18. The core principles of secure firewall deployment recommend a zero-trust approach. Mr. Duran decides to apply implied rule cleanup at the end of each policy layer. Why is this considered best practice? A. Ensures logging of any implied rules that are triggered. B. Enforces block all behavior for unmatched traffic, ensuring least privilege. C. It allows custom NAT rules to override system defaults. D. It speeds up policy matching by pruning rule tree depth. Answer. Correct answer. B. It enforces block all behavior for unmatched traffic, ensuring least privilege. Explanation. A cleanup rule at the end of each layer explicitly blocks all unmatched traffic, ensuring least privilege and policy clarity. This aligns with zero trust best practices in checkpoint security policy management guidelines. Option A refers to logging but not enforcement. Option C confuses NAT with access control. Option D is incorrect. Cleanup rules don't optimize performance. Question 19. The implications of losing the primary management server can be severe. ISTA deactivates the secondary server after the primary fails. However, policy installation fails. What might be the root cause? A. The certificate on the secondary server is invalid for policy installation. B. SIC is not established between secondary and security gateways. C. The secondary was not synchronized with the primary before failure. D. The policy was installed using Smart Event instead of Smart Console. Answer. Correct answer. C. The secondary was not synchronized with the primary before failure. Explanation. If the secondary server is not synchronized, it lacks updated policies, certificates, and logs. Checkpoints management admin guide highlights that synchronization must occur regularly for failover to function. Option A may cause trust issues, but not full policy failure. Option B would affect communication, but is rarely isolated to secondary only. Option D is incorrect. Smart Event is not used for installation. Question 20. One might argue that identity awareness is not necessary if local authentication is used. However, IS Phelps wants to enforce department-specific policies dynamically, which identity awareness feature allows associating users with roles based on ad groups. A. Captive portal. B. Terminal server agent. C. Access roles. D. Smart directory. Answer. Correct answer. C. Access roles. Explanation. Access roles in Checkpoint allow linking user identity and ad group membership to policy enforcement. This enables granular, identity-based access control per the Identity Awareness Admin Guide. Option is a method of acquiring identity. Option B is for terminal server support. Option D is for directory integration but not enforcement. Question 21. When analyzing an issue with a high availability firewall cluster, Naomi observes that traffic to certain applications drops during high throughput. After inspecting UE or state, she finds a large number of packet drops in the forward to firewall path, even though SecureXL is enabled. What is the likely cause of these drops? A. SecureXL is misconfigured to bypass acceleration for specific protocols. B. There is no CoreXL configuration present, forcing all traffic through one core. C. The packet inspection relies on deep packet inspection DPI that bypasses acceleration. D. NAT and application control rules were misaligned across policy layers. Answer. Correct answer. C. The packet inspection relies on deep packet inspection DPI that bypasses acceleration. Explanation. Traffic requiring deep inspection. ITES decryption at control is automatically forwarded to the firewall kernel FF path bypassing SecureXL. The Checkpoint SecureXL performance guide confirms that DPI-related services are not accelerated. Option A may lead to bypass but would appear in exceptions. Option B would be identified IEP config. Option D would cause policy misbehavior, not necessarily FF path congestion. Question 22. To what extent does configuring updatable objects affect the effectiveness of threat prevention policies? Mr. Ibrahim wishes to restrict traffic to known malicious domains, but wants real-time updates without manual maintenance. Which feature should he leverage? A. Custom application signatures using Smart Event. B. Manual IOC feeds for anti-bot blade. C. Use of checkpoint-provided updatable objects in the access policy. D. Manually curated host groups referenced in threat prevention profiles. Answer. Correct answer. C. Use of checkpoint-provided updatable objects in the access policy. Explanation. Updatable objects offer dynamic, cloud-managed intelligence from checkpoint, automatically refreshing malicious IPS domains and URLs in real time. They integrate with access control policy and threat prevention without administrator intervention. Refer to R.20 Threat Prevention Admin Guide options, and B. Require manual effort. Option D lacks the real-time component needed for zero-day protection. Question 23. Examining the consequences of improper policy layer configuration, Mr. Sanjay discovers that although a newly added rule allowing SAP appears correct in Layer 2, emails are still blocked. What could be causing this? A. A stealth rule in the network layer is overriding SAP access. B. Layer 1 policy deny SAP before Layer 2 is evaluated. C. SAP is being blocked due to NAT misconfiguration in the firewall. D. Threat prevention policy overrides access control layers. Answer. Correct answer. B. Layer 1 policy deny SAP before Layer 2 is evaluated. Explanation. Access control layers are evaluated sequentially, with top layers applied first. If Layer 1 deny SAP, Layer 2 rules are not evaluated. According to Checkpoint R.20 policy management guidelines, the evaluation order is top-down per layer, not per rule. Option A refers to internal access protection. Option C may cause connectivity issues, but not policy block. Option D applies to threat-based actions, not access. Question 24. By evaluating an error in a CoreXL configuration, is DASL viewer your affinity? L to check affinity settings but sees all values at 0. She wants to manually assign core affinities for better performance. What's her best next step? A. Use cpconfig to configure automatic CoreXL. B. Edit fwconf file to bind instances to cores. E. URL affinity. S. To assign kernel instances to cores. D. Reinstall SecureXL kernel modules with new parameters. Answer. Correct answer. C. URL affinity. S. To assign kernel instances to cores. Explanation URL affinity. S. assigns CoreXL kernel instances to EPU cores manually and is the standard method for performance tuning. Per checkpoint performance tuning guide, this allows for real-time assignment. Option toggles between static dynamic mode but doesn't assign. Option B no longer applies in R.20. Option D is irrelevant. Kernel modules don't require reinstallation for this task. Question 25. Given the circumstances, is Roberts needs to isolate IT devices from corporate users. She creates 2 security zones and assigns interfaces accordingly. However, she still observes cross-zone communication. What might be the reason? A. Traffic is not routed through the firewall due to improper topology setup. B. Security zones are not enforced unless used in threat prevention policy. C. Automatic rules between zones are enabled by default in Smart Console. D. Zones were created but not applied to interfaces in Gaia. Answer. Correct answer A. Traffic is not routed through the firewall due to improper topology setup. Explanation. If routing between interfaces bypasses the firewall. G. Layer 2 switch paths. Security zones can't enforce separation. According to Checkpoint Network Security Admin Guide, for zones to function, traffic must traverse the firewall. Option B is incorrect. The zones apply in both access and threat prevention policies. Option C is not a default behavior. Option D is unlikely if zones were correctly assigned. Question 26. Contrary to popular belief, all upgrades do not require cluster downtime. Mr. Lee wants to perform a zero downtime upgrade of a cluster XL hub pair running R.40 to R.20. Which upgrade method supports this? A. Fresh install using isomorphic tool on both cluster members. B. C. Use upgrade using OTouch mode on active member first. C. Multi-version cluster upgrade via C. Use on standby, then active member. D. Gaia snapshot rollback followed by clean install. Answer. Correct answer. C. Multi-version cluster upgrade via CPUS on standby, then active member. Explanation. MVC multi-version cluster allows cluster upgrades without downtime. Per the R.20 upgrade and migration guide, upgrade the standby member first, then perform failover and upgrade the second. Option A wipes configurations. Option B may cause service interruption. Option D is a rollback method, not an upgrade path. Question 27. Focusing specifically on Radius authentication issues, Ken receives complaints that remote VPA users cannot log in despite correct credentials. Log show. Radius timeout errors. What is the most likely cause? A. The shared secret between Radius and gateway has expired. B. Time synchronization between the gateway and Radius server is off. C. Radius server IP is incorrect in Smart Console configuration. D. The VPN community is not using the compatible encryption suite. Answer. Correct answer. C. Radius server IP is incorrect in Smart Console configuration. Explanation. A misconfigured Radius server IP results in unreachable authentication backend, causing timeouts. Checkpoints identity awareness admin guide notes that Smart Console settings must match server settings exactly. Option would cause failed auth, not timeout. Option B affects Kerberos more than Radius. Option D relates VPN fizz negotiation, not auth. Question 20. A comparison with static link selection is to Forster implements advanced link selection for a remote VPN site. He notices unpredictable failovers and traffic disruptions. What configuration step may have been missed? A. Enable ISP redundancy on both VPN peers. B. Configure dead peer detection on external interfaces. C. Set probing address in link selection settings for reachability tests. D. Bind each VPN domain to a unique external interface. Answer. Correct answer. C. Set probing address in link selection settings for reachability tests. Explanation. Advanced link selection uses probes to determine path availability. If no probing address is set, the gateway may incorrectly assume a path is unavailable. Per Checkpoint VPN admin guide, configuring static or DS resolve probing addresses is required. Option is for ISP redundancy. Option B is useful but insufficient alone. Option D is unrelated to else logic. Question 29. While examining smart event logs, Isfera observes alerts about brute force attempts on the SSH port from an internal subnet. However, no logs exist in smart log. Why might this be? A. Smart event is configured to analyze packet captures rather than logs. B. Event policy is using an older log parser not compatible with the new gateway version. C. Log indexer has crashed and is not ingesting new entries. D. The security gateway is logging only to local files, not the log server. Answer. Correct answer. D. The security gateway is logging only to local files, not the log server. Explanation. If the gateway logs locally, smart log and smart event won't reflect real-time events unless logs are forwarded to the central log server. Per the logging and monitoring admin guide, centralized logging is required for smart event. Option is inaccurate. A smart event relies on logs. Option B would cause parsing errors, not empty logs. Option C could be caused but is secondary to log source. Question 30. A detailed analysis of his Kaya's environment shows SSL traffic is not being decrypted as expected, even that HES inspection is enabled. Which diagnostic tool helped her verify if the SSL handshake is being intercepted? A. OEL debug. MSSL book. EVUC. TE dump. INE port 404P3D. VPN tube. Answer. Correct answer A. OEL debug. SSL explanation. OEL debug. MSSL enables module-specific debug for SSL inspection, showing whether handshakes are intercepted and certificates substituted. According to TES Inspection Troubleshooting Guide, it's the primary tool for TES issues. Option B shows performance, not decryption. Option C provides packet capture but not decryption state. Option D manages VPN tunnels. Irrelevant here.